Take a trip with us to Nilbog. Just promise not to drink the goo.
Oh my God!
If you get sucked into the Matrix, we will send a phone for you.
Do you believe in fate?
But every movie has a plot hole, and every hole gets filled somehow with whiskey, wine, or blue milk. Just don't cut me off right now. We're the Plotaholics, a breakfast club of two. We're the Plotaholics, ripping plots apart for you.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome into another rip-roaring fun episode of the Plotaholics podcast. I'm Shane Wilson, and I'm hoping that I am coming in loud and clear. And we will know that momentarily after the delay catches up with what's happening right now. I'm joined, as always, by the hot to my shot, Brian Tan.
Hey-o! Yep.
And it sounds pretty good so far. So
yeah, from what my phone is letting me know, it sounds really, really good as we discuss the delay. So woohoo!
Yeah, it is.
Everything is good on the danger zone.
Yeah, so we are obviously like dealing with some new digs here in terms of the streaming setup. So as we are sort of ironing out the kinks there, just bear with us if you don't mind, and I promise we will. I mean, it sounds good to me. You can probably kill that now.
Okay.
So we don't have the echo running the whole time. But yeah, so looks good, sounds good. Everything is peachy keen. So we're going to be running sort of a stripped down version this week on the Twitch. But everything from here should be on the up and up. Brian, how are you this week?
I'm doing pretty good. Preparing for some more traveling this week. And then a week from today, the wife and I are going to be going to the movie theaters to check out the Danger Zone. I don't know why I cannot talk about the primary film that was the film that was the subject of the film that we're going to be discussing today, but I cannot talk about Top Gun without calling it what its true title should be, which is Danger Zone.
It's a little crazy that that movie's not called Danger Zone, right?
It really should be called Danger. It should be this is the title card as it should be in my head. Tom Cruise lives and then Tom Cruise really, really big, lives in the kind of small, and then Danger Zone really big underneath.
And then some sort of like I don't know, like the lead singer of Warrant or somebody like just sings that little riff every single time.
Right. As great as Kenny Loggins is, I want like a classic 80s like hair
falsetto
metal.
Yeah.
Yes. Like maybe Klaus Moiner from the Scorpions.
That would be good. I mean, how about the kids that did your Peacemaker intro song?
Yes.
Right?
I love the Peacemaker guys. Absolutely.
I knew who the Peacemaker
Wigwam,
guys
I think
were.
they're called.
Yeah, Wigwam, you're right.
But I like Peacemaker guys better as
the
a band
Peacemaker
name.
guys.
The Peacemaker guys.
If they go on tour, they should definitely be the Peacemaker intro guys.
Oh, absolutely.
This week, Brian, we continue our close examination of the parody genre.
It's a great genre.
It is, with the parody of, I guess the thing that it parodies the most is Top Gun, and that is the film Hot Shots.
Yep. Charlie Sheen, pre-Tiger Blood insanity.
Yep. Is
it fair to call it insanity? I don't think it's fair to call it insanity. It's just Charlie Sheen being eccentric.
Yeah.
Eccentric Sheen action figure.
That's a word for it for sure. This is our, I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, second of the Sheen
Of the Sheen films,
I believe so.
I think so. Let me do a double check here real quick. Yeah, because I can't think of any other Charlie Sheen films. I mean,
We did one of the sports ones. A
we did.
few. Yeah, we did. We did his.
We didn't do Major League, did we?
I believe we did.
I don't remember doing Major League.
It was a few years back, but I'm pretty sure we
let me
did.
do a Control F of this. Yeah, we did do Major League back in. This was last year, about a year ago. Yeah, we did Major League. So this is our second Charlie Sheen film.
Yes.
All right, so we're almost there. We're almost
I
at a
obviously am not as into the historical stuff as the historical stuff as you are, right?
Yeah.
But I did recall that, and I am so I don't know what the right word is, confused by this man's appeal at any point in his career.
Well, here's the thing about Charlie Sheen. There was a time where, like, if you look at his cameo in the film Lucas,
Yeah.
he seems like he's acting, but it's almost like he's just being him. But he has, like, you want to talk about actors, we've talked about this before, actors that are the same character in everything they do. Charlie Sheen is there because he's always the same guy.
Yeah, which I think maybe I just don't like that guy because I just can't ride with this guy. And this has nothing to do with Tiger Blood because I barely paid attention to any of that shit too. But he just okay. We talked last week about how Leslie Nielsen is like a certifiable genius in this genre, right?
Correct.
Charlie Sheen just does not do this genre for me. He was in some of the later Scary Movie films. To me, it feels a little bit too much like he knows he's in on the joke, and that feels to me like he's like a little bit too like jokes. Whereas Leslie Nielsen plays it all so straight, and he comes across as an actual idiot. Like Charlie Sheen's performance in the parody genre, at least, is just a little too self-aware. I liked him in Major Leagues fine. It's in this kind of movie that he's a little too self-aware to be the lead.
I mean, I can kind of get it, but I think that at least in this I watched both Hot Shots movies last week. And the only reason why I think that he works, at least in the first one, is, and maybe this is the issue that you have, is that yeah, he's the lead, but we always have a character that is essentially us in these films that are just like, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, like that they're connecting with us, and maybe that's the problem, is that he's not only the lead, but he's also that connection.
He's both of those characters.
He's both characters in one.
That could be the problem for me. That's pretty solid analysis, I think, because as I watched this one, I was not into it. I found myself like there were a couple of bits that I thought were pretty funny. Very few of them were Charlie Sheen bits, but I liked some of the jokes, right?
Okay, so what are some of the? So name one of the jokes off the top of your head that you.
Okay, so I think one of the funniest bits in the movie was when what's his name, Dead Meat, was walking to get into the plane, and like the black cat ran across, and then he walked
walked under the ladder,
broke the mirror, and then he's like, "I've got the top secret intelligence on what happened to JFK," and she's like, "Do you think you should give it to me?" He's like, "No, I'm just getting in a jet. What's the worst that could happen?" Right? Like that whole sequence is so funny, right?
It really was,
and
that was funny.
Like that to me is on par with any of the jokes in Naked Gun.
Yeah,
but the rest of this movie felt a little bit.
Mrs. Tan on the coffee delivery. Thank you very much, Mrs. Tan.
Just in time.
You are on point for everything, and I do not deserve you.
I think that to me, this movie felt a lot. We mentioned this last week. The disaster movie, or the Not Another Teen movie, or where you have a movie that just kind of tries to make fun of every movie in one particular genre.
Right. And stick to one or two.
And that's this. Obviously, like it's using Top Gun as its like central narrative.
That's the primary. Yeah.
but it also like pokes fun at a ton of other stuff. And so it just feels like instead of the jokes being like artfully crafted and everything, they just kind of like take one shot, really thin jabs at a series of movies.
Right. And I kind of like the idea of when we're talking about spoof films.
Mm-hmm.
When we did I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, it kind of spoofed all blaxploitation films, but it feels different because those films are essentially, I don't want to go so far as say they're the same.
Oh, no,
But
no.
what makes those movies different are the characters. It's the presentation that's the same. And that's why that works. But when you look at Not Another Teen Movie and Disaster Movie and blah, 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 they're making fun of all of it.
So I can 100% identify the major difference between these two things for you right now and put it to bed. And it's that I'm Gonna Get You Sucker and The Naked Gun are like premier excellent examples of parody because they attack tropes.
Yes.
And this movie, Hot Shots and Disaster Movie and a bunch of those other ones are lesser than because instead of attacking tropes, they make punchlines out of other specific movies, and so they date
Correct.
themselves in an
Correct.
unnecessary way.
Right, because if you're 16 years old,
Yeah,
and you've never watched Top Gun, a lot of these jokes
Right.
are not going to make sense to you.
yeah. Also, how are you going to make a Top Gun parody and not just like really lean into the homoeroticism?
Right. Why don't we have a now? Granted, though, do you think it would be problematic though with the when this movie was made? The beach
They
volleyball
probably
scene,
would have absolutely done it the wrong way, but
right?
I
But
find
how
it
do
really
you ignore it?
I find it really curious that they chose to ignore it, and maybe that was the point, right? Is maybe they couldn't come up with a smart, clever way to do that, and
Right.
no, I don't think that it was we're self-aware and we don't want to offend anybody. I think it's more like we couldn't convince Charlie Sheen to act gay.
Right. Well, I also think this movie also kind of makes fun of. It tries to make fun of Dances with Wolves a little bit as well.
Okay, that to me, that opening sequence was probably the most problematic thing in the whole movie.
The only part of the opening sequence that I didn't hate was another running gag where everyone sits on Ivy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, now
that was cute. That was
right.
cute and funny. It's like that poor freaking dog.
See, that's one of those recurring bits that's kind of funny. And I thought that the opening sequence, the opening credit sequence on the aircraft carrier, I thought that was also pretty funny because like it did exactly what you want a parody to do,
right?
Which is it looked exactly like the opening sequence for Top Gun. It had the same sort of like contrast and colors on, and like color contrast and all of that. So the color scheme is, I think, what I was looking for.
Yes.
And it did sort of what the baseball highlight sequence in Naked Gun did, where some of it looked legit, and then all of a sudden you have like the guy doing the signals, doing ballet and stuff, right?
Right.
And so, and they were like playing football, and then like, and it looked pretty good until one guy fell off the side. That opening sequence was really solid. And I thought, okay, like I'm kind of on board for this, but it was like also so obviously Top Gun, whereas The Naked Gun is so obviously spy movies, right? Like, and that's the difference.
Right. You're exactly right. And, but no, I think that when we're talking about the opening scene, not the title sequence, but that actual scene, I mean, it's funny in a sense with like sound. It's sight gags, right? Even though me personally, I get real tired of the spoofing of Native American culture. I really get tired of any culture that's not white Anglo-Saxon Protestant being used as a punchline.
Yeah.
It's old. But I did have to laugh at, he goes to the TP and it's obviously
that was a good bit.
But yeah, it's unlocking all of the doors and all the locks.
The doorbell, right? Like that was the other joke that made me laugh, right? Like that was those were the two main ones.
Even with all the locks and everything on the inside of it, that's good continuity.
That's good. That's solid.
That was good. That was good sight work. That was good. That was a good way to set up the scene. Although, but then when they came out with the helium pipe, it's like, You know what though? This is something that I would
The
see.
helium thing is a really good. So
It's goofy, but it's like, and I sort of laughed at it at the idea that this is something that like Anglo dominated Hollywood would use to make fun of something that's actually ceremonial.
right. So I was actually going to play for you if I can make it work, and I think
All
that
right,
I
let's
know
see if we
how.
can make this work.
I was gonna
You
play.
are the master of this stuff,
Right.
so
I
I
was
have faith.
First I have to find it, and then I have to. But yeah, I think I got it. So
Okay.
this is, for my money, the funniest use of helium that I've ever seen. Like, of this bit, right? Because
I
this
love
is
helium. I love the helium humor, by
the
the way.
helium bit is solid, right? So this is a scene from New Girl.
Okay.
And in the scene, the roommates, with the exception of one guy, they have a helium balloon, right? And so they're doing the thing where they like they're just making each other laugh with the helium, right? And then
Yeah.
the other guy comes in and delivers some like pretty important news, and they have to respond to it, but they have all been sucking helium, and so like they have
Boy.
so it to me is really funny. I don't think I'll be able to let you see it, but I think you'll hear it, and I think that it'll translate. So actually, let me do a different one. Let me do this one.
Guess what? I got balloons from a guy in a van. I love this neighborhood. I just love it.
All right.
Me so horny. Very good.
I can't wait for this because, like I said, I'm a big fan of helium humor.
Yeah, here. Are you hearing it? No, you're probably not hearing it. Okay,
I'm
hold on.
not hearing
Actually,
it.
yeah, no, the folks at home are hearing it. So I think I can also maybe let you hear it. So I'm going to.
Well, I have it on my phone.
Yeah, no, I've done something different now. We're doing something else.
Okay.
We're
This
gonna
is so much
go-
fun. This is so fun. I like this.
Here we go. Now I'm gonna go back, and I think we might be able to make it happen. Maybe it
Okay.
won't cause like an intense echo.
I got balloons from a guy in a van. I love this neighborhood. I just love it.
What is that? Me so horny. Very good. No credit, no problem, and happy 100th, Jane.
I don't think she made it, but she lived a good life.
No, shut up! Don't booby trap me! Stop! Shut up! It's my mom. Get off of me!
And so now they start.
Oh, Nick's just mad because that punk-ass balloon beat his ass.
Hey, no huffing. Come on, guys.
Take these seriously, Winston.
I didn't buy the balloons to have you guys.
If you do that one more time, I'm gonna break your faces in.
Hey-o! I love it.
My dad died. Yeah, I guess he had a heart attack.
I love it.
I got to go back to Chicago and go to the funeral and everything.
Like, to me, so it's not over yet, but this to me is such a funny use of helium because they all have the chipmunk voices.
Mm-hmm.
And now this guy's like, my dad died, and and they're his friends, right? Like, how do
Right. How are you going to say,
Right.
I'm sorry to hear that?
right?
Dude, I used
you
to
guys
hate
say
helium
anything?
because when I was a kid, I could never get that effect. And then one day as an adult, I just inhaled some helium and just started talking. It's like, oh my God, I finally figured it out.
Yeah. So
Wow!
here's the very end of it here.
Well, you guys gonna say anything or?
That's terrible.
Well, we're so sorry.
Oh my God, that is awesome.
That to me, it makes me laugh because they're all so hesitant to like get into it.
Yeah,
you know?
they really don't want to, but it's like we got to say something. It's
Right.
like it's the one thing about being caught between a rock and a hard place that actually makes it hilarious.
Right, and so that's why to me the like the peace pipe bit in this just didn't quite work for me because it was like a little too, like you said, they're making fun of like a ceremony, and there's nothing particularly awkward about it. It's just like
It's just we have funny voices now.
yeah,
And I think the only thing that was meant to make it funny is the fact that it's supposed to be like a serious moment. And he's like, you're the best of the best, Topper.
right.
And it's like that's what's supposed to be funny. But it's like
Yeah.
otherwise you're seriously taking like a really, really important ceremony in Native culture.
let me
And you're using it as a punchline.
ask you another question.
Mhm.
So the movie opens with a scene sort of like Top Gun where this one pilot is like pushing his jet to the extreme or whatever, and so it results in the death of his co-pilot. And
Or Rio, if you're watching Danger zone.
Right. And so then 20 years later, they go and find Charlie Sheen, who is the original pilot's son, in a teepee. Now, was Charlie Sheen's character ever previously?
Yes, he was previously in the Navy. I guess he had gotten in trouble much the same as his father did, so they kicked him out. So he went to go live on the Native American reservation.
Okay. So to me, so here's a good example, I think, of a movie premise that was too short, and then they were like, how do we make it longer? And they were like, well, let's just give all these guys dads that know each other, right? Because if he was a pilot and he got booted for something similar, then why didn't we just watch him do that during the opening sequence?
Right.
Why do we need this like extra step of
because we can't kill, because you can't kill Carrie Elwes.
Yeah.
You got to have Carrie. You have to have a reason to have Carrie Elwes hate Charlie Sheen.
Yeah.
And, you know, much like how you had Val Kilmer hating Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
So I think that's why. Plus, it really sets up another scene.
But couldn't you just have them hate each other for the same reasons that Val Kilmer hated Tom Cruise?
I guess there's nothing funnier than hating another guy because that guy's dad killed your dad, even though that guy can't control what his dad did. So we have to have the sins of the father plague the son type of storyline.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? It makes my pubic hair tingle with excitement.
Wow, you have a real like eroticism in your.
Bro, I have a strong gasp of the English language. Okay, me grabs that shit good.
I like that. Hey, watch what you're grabbing, though. You know.
I will. I promise. While I'm on camera, I promise. Keep my hands up here so you can see.
Yeah, the whole time.
But I'll tell you the truth, though. The one thing, though, about that choice that, and we come back to it later, which was funny, was the whole familiarity scene of where John Cryer. So we had we had a third of the 2.5 men. Or wait, how would that work? If it's 2.5 men.
Okay, so it's 2.5.
Yeah, so we had 2 of the 2.5 men in this film with John Cryer.
200%.
Yeah. I don't know math.
We had 85, 82. I mean, the half doesn't even count.
No, so we had 2 of the 2.5 men in this film with John Cryer and Charlie Sheen. And of course, so we find out, so Charlie Sheen's dad, so basically Martin Sheen kills Carrie Elwes' dad. We'll call him Carrie Sr. Mm-hmm. And John Cryer's family ate Carrie Sr. with Carrie Sr.'s head on the wall.
Okay, that was another bit that made me laugh. The deer thing was really funny.
And everyone was like, not Doreen Pfaffenbach. My mother was a Pfaffenbach. And like everyone's something. This is the trope that you always make fun of.
Yeah.
Everyone is somehow related.
That bit was pretty good too, right? Like I kind of liked that. And honestly, like it was basically any joke that had nothing to do with Charlie Sheen was kind of funny to me. And I think that's because they wanted Charlie Sheen to be such a Tom Cruise. That
and such a straight man to it.
Yeah, and I think that in some ways he didn't even he was like too Tom Cruise.
Well, I think that he was discounting Tom Cruise.
Yeah, but I think that he took that part of it so seriously that he didn't even get around to making fun of Tom Cruise. He was too busy trying to be Tom Cruise.
Yeah, he was, instead of being like a Tom Cruise, he was like Tim Raft.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it was
That's
like
funny. That's a good joke.
I tried. Well, I tried to come up with another aspect of Cruise, but maybe I should have said Tim Control.
Tim Canoe.
Tim Canoe. But
Timmy Canoe.
Because it's like he's trying to be this cocky sort of but he doesn't have that cockiness with the charm.
Right.
Because somehow the reason why you like the Pete Mitchell character from Top Gun is that as arrogant as he is, he's right.
Yeah.
And in that, there is something about him that is appealing. He has a charm. And that's what's made Tom Cruise so popular for 40 years, right?
Yeah.
Is that he's likable. There's some, even when he's being insane and stomping on couches and, you know, really, really holding up.
He absolutely has a charisma that Charlie Sheen does not have.
Not to say that Charlie Sheen does not have charisma.
It's just a different
It's
flair.
a different kind of charisma. But it's almost like when Tom Cruise is kind of going batshit, he's still charismatic. And it's like, it's just Tom.
Yeah.
But when
it's
Charlie
because
Sheen
he's so
goes,
tiny.
Yeah. Like, how can someone as barely an inch taller than Rey Mysterio gonna really be?
Yeah, it was actually really nice of them to give Tom a part in the movie that was making fun of his famous movie. I thought he was really good as the Chihuahua.
No, that was funny. That means you have Tom Cruise whining in a chair in your office right now.
No, Michelle's off today, so Tom Cruise is downstairs whining on the couch.
Oh, okay, good. But like,
which
when
is,
Charlie
I mean,
Sheen's,
you know, we know Tom Cruise is famous for whining on couches.
Absolutely. But when Charlie Sheen goes batshit, it's like, all right, here's this handsome dude who has lived an entire life of privilege for forever, and now he's just this entitled asshole.
Yeah, and maybe that's part of it too, is that like in every movie I've ever seen Charlie Sheen in, he's just unquestionably amazing at whatever it is he's supposed to be doing.
Yeah, like you look at him in Major League, right?
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, well, you know, Charlie Sheen threw an 88-mile-per-hour fastball in high school. That's why he can be Rick Wild Thing Vaughn so great. Yay.
Yeah,
I'm so glad that he is so naturally gifted that he can just look like a major league pitcher.
Yeah, and I think that for the most part, the problem with this brand of satire that and you know, we keep throwing up things like epic movie and disaster movie and everything, is that at the end of the day, like they all just look, they try so hard to mimic the visual of the thing that they're making fun of, that it ultimately just ends up coming across as you're watching like a seamless version of it.
But yeah, you're watching the same thing. It's just the
worse.
blooper reel.
Yeah,
it's
right.
the blooper reel with less talented actors, because you always notice though that in these types of movies, like look at the Twilight spoofs, the Fast and Furious spoofs, they basically get the Walmart discount bin version of the actors.
Yeah, so that even they look the same.
Right, and it's almost like you're getting the less talented stunt doubles.
Yeah, and the jokes just aren't as funny,
good.
And they're not as timeless. Like they're a little too pointed at specific targets.
Right. Like you can look at like let's go back and reference Naked Gun for a second.
Yeah.
All right, this movie came out in the late 80s, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can watch that movie today and it is still hilariously relevant. There's like, and you know, but when you watch like any of those films, like, you know, any of these spoof the spoof genre as it's become, and it's like, yeah, this is old. Like, this is really old. Like it's almost like you're depending on what's funny now. It's not going to have lasting power when dynamics of society shift. Like case in point, let's look at some of those spoof movies, and I already brought them up again, but you see how they just have no staying power. But if you go back and you watch a sitcom like Married with Children, by today's standard, it is extremely problematic. Yeah. But there is something about its staying power, and it's because the writing is top notch, the delivery is amazing, and you have the cast that can pull it off.
Yeah.
Spoof genres to this day, it's like you said, you want a shot for shot redesign, and then you want to throw these overly ridiculous sight gags, whether it's gross out humor, sex out humor, or whatever. And you're just depending on lazy writing to try to make something funny. No one of those movies get like a 1.
Well, I also think that they depend on popular hatred of the movies that they're going after.
Yes. Those Twilight spoofs are a clear indication.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people right now that are coming up with hate for Twilight. And it's not just because, it's popular to hate it. They're actually looking at the problematic aspects of Twilight. Codependency in relationships versus ageism when it comes. Because remember back in the day, it was like considered sexy that this 100-plus-year-old vampire was into these young women. Now it's like, ew, really? Like, why? You know, where now, when you look at some of the things, aspects of Twilight that people hated when it first came out, it's, oh, well, I hate Robert Pattinson. Okay, why? Because I hate Edward Cullen. Okay,
Yeah, I mean,
why?
I think
Because
there is a current in pop culture and mainstream culture that as soon as anything gets a certain level of popularity, then it just automatically attracts haters.
it's invoked. It's in vogue to hate it.
Yeah. So that's just kind of the natural life cycle of something that becomes popular, and
Very true.
for whatever reason, right? But
It
that's
just
kind of
is
the
what it
thing is
is.
that
It's
like
the haters.
as
It's
soon
the
as
hater.
something becomes incredibly unpopular, the money grubbers come out and they write something like whatever Twilight movie, whatever, I can't remember what that one was, vampire movie, I don't know.
I don't know, something that really, really sucks. Let's see,
Early
Twilight.
Evening.
That's what it's called. Early Evening.
No, I don't know. I just made that up.
Oh, it's called Vampires Suck.
See, it's just like, that's so lazy.
Yeah, or Breaking Wind.
That's so lazy.
Yeah.
And they clearly are just like, they're just trying to capitalize on the hatred that particular IP has garnered. And there are many valid reasons to dislike it. And honestly, there are many valid avenues that you could take to parody those kinds of movies. Right. But the reason that the Naked Gun, and I was thinking about this yesterday when I was watching Hot Shots, that I really did this movie a disservice by watching I'm Gonna Get You Sucker and The Naked Gun before watching this, because those movies are master classes in the genre. And this movie is not. And I worry that next week we're going to have the same thing, because I think a lot of those horror movie parodies that came out in the late 90s, early 2000s are too invested in Scream.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, though. When you look at, say, when you really look at the first Scary movie, it's still, it's a Wayans property. And while it does depend a lot on
Scream.
Scary movie,
On like the late 90s slasher flick.
Right. I don't know. It's been a while since I watched Scary Movie. I haven't watched Scary Movie in at least 10, 12 years.
Yeah.
So,
but I don't want to get off on that. I want to I think that if you look at the 80s, there were so many action flicks that they could have like turned to, like just do or military movie tropes. Just go after that stuff. There's plenty of stuff in that. Like some of the other bits that I thought were kind of funny was like the cadence calls, right? With the Brady Bunch.
Here's a story of a lovely lady.
Like I thought that was kind of a dumb choice, but it was still funny, like to make fun of the cadence call, right? That's making fun of a trope as opposed to making fun of a movie.
Right. I kind of wish they would have done the Partridge Family. A whole lot of loving is what we'll be singing.
Yeah, see, that's good.
Happy.
Yeah,
that would have been great, but I think the problem is that the Brady Bunch is way more, I guess, popular than
like why not like a Fleetwood Mac song, right? Like,
ooh, there you go.
Just like a white winged dove sings a song, sounds like she's singing.
Boo, boo, boo.
See, that would have been amazing.
In a landslide, falling down.
Right, like that would have been funny, but like, and it's funny because now you've got these like hyper masculine dudes using like a woman's song, like Stevie Nicks song, as cadence, right? And that, like, those are the kinds of things that this movie misses, is a more universal approach to the military action flick genre. And it is absolutely a genre that needs to be taken to task through parody, because when you look at Top Gun, that thing's a recruitment video for the military, right?
It really, really is.
And so here you have kind of a neutered version of, like, why are we not really making fun of that genre?
Right. And you could do so much more with this. Like, you really could. But I think, though, that at the end of the day, I think the biggest problem that we run into with this film as a whole, and you already said it, but I'm going to say it again because it is a glaring hole. I think that if you put anybody else in the Charlie Sheen role, I think even with the shortcomings of the writing, it's a better movie.
I agree. Yeah.
Because Cary Elwes is so great in this movie, because Cary Elwes' delivery is so good. It's almost like you look at what he did in Princess Bride and he goes, oh, I can do way better.
Yeah.
Watch this. But Carrie Elwes is great in everything he does.
Yeah.
And John Cryer especially is so funny because I love it when you switch to his POV and it's
Right.
like looking in the wrong end of the keyhole.
We should spend a little time talking about the supporting cast here, and not just like take Charlie.
Yeah, let's not harp on Charlie Sheen.
I thought Lloyd Bridges was great.
Oh, dude, Lloyd Bridges' character well, he's essentially playing the same guy in Hot Shots and Hot Shots Part 2, where in this one he's the admiral, then in Hot Shots Part 2, he's the president. He's absolutely hilarious. Now, Hot Shots Part 2 actually had a really, really good helium scene.
Oh yeah.
Where they're doing this underwater mission thing, and he goes, "I have all these questions. Like, why did I pack helium instead of air?"
That's funny. Like, what about we don't got no sticky hands in this movie either.
No, we don't. Although I will say,
but the animal bit was funny. The deer thing was funny.
Yeah, the deer thing was really, really good. Sitting on Ivy, aka Tom Cruise, in a couple of scenes, that was really funny. Lloyd Bridges is so great. Do you ever notice though that he kept calling that guy like the wrong name? And it was never the same name. Yeah, Bill, you're a good guy. Well, Scott, what are we gonna do? It's the same dude. He just keeps calling him the wrong name. And I really love that because we've all known that old guy that just never got anybody's name right. And you don't even want to correct him because it's not even that important because it's like, yeah, well, he's old.
Right. And I mean, there were even the PTSD, the 21 gun salute bit where he starts attacking those guys. I mean, even that felt a little telegraphed to me, you know?
Yeah, but I really love I love a good funeral. That was still kind of funny to me.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. To me, the jokes felt they just felt a little thin is all.
They were. I think because I think the jokes themselves weren't great. It was the delivery is what made them good. And this is one of those rare instances where the supporting cast really makes the lead actor look good, even though he's not all that good.
Yeah.
Like you got Carrie Elwes.
I was not a fan of Valeria Golino in this.
I was just getting ready to say her name. I was going to ask you, what did you think of her?
She's so boring.
So you didn't like her when he would go, "You must be joking." If I were joking, I would say, and she just comes up with like a horrible joke, goes, "You are serious."
I mean, she was fine for what she was supposed to be, right? But I think I just don't like Charlie Sheen, and so I usually only saw her in interactions with him. I didn't think they had good chemistry. I thought that the scene where he was frying eggs on her stomach was really stupid.
I don't understand this culinary eroticism thing. Why is food sexy?
Oh, in general, I have no idea.
I think that's gross. I don't want to cover someone in food and eat. That's not sexy to me.
Yeah, I would rather just eat the food.
I'd rather eat the food. Yeah. The only funny part about that whole scene was when he popped the olive in her mouth.
Yeah.
And olives are gross.
I just that scene is we've talked about how certain jokes and parodies will start at a base level and then ratchet up right until it's not funny and then it's funny again. And this, to me, the food thing just stayed at the same level the whole time. It was never funny. It never got funny.
Yeah. And it's impossible for me to suspend the disbelief that he's got her so hot that you can cook bacon on her belly and there is no salmonella.
I don't have to suspend my disbelief because I can acknowledge that that's a joke.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we watched last week, again, a masterclass in making jokes out of intimate moments.
Oh yeah. The fact that they're in the human-sized condom, that is hilarious.
Right. That to me, it is The Naked Gun and Leslie Nielsen far and away, miles ahead of Hot Shots and Charlie Sheen.
I agree. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, there's some aspects of this movie that I did sort of chuckle with, like when they're at the boxing match. They're like, "This should be a good fight. Both guys work for Don King."
Yeah, well,
it's just
and that's
over.
the thing, right? Like, it's like, so there's this whole montage where they make fun of a shit ton of these movies, right? Rocky and a bunch of them. And the thing is, like, I think the problem is that this became the model that Hollywood followed when it came time to do parodies, because it's easy to just churn this kind of movie out. There's not really a ton of thought in it. Like,
to put money into it.
Like, I'm supposed to find it funny that Charlie Sheen just randomly in this montage is beat up like Rocky, and then Ramada is like running through the crowd. It's like a shot for shot remake of the Rocky scene. There's not even a joke.
Right. It's just he's saying her name.
Like, we're supposed to think it's funny because it's just in this other movie. Like, that's so lazy.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. But no, I really, really do wish that the Naked Gun were the gold standard for parody of today's.
Well, it is. It's just not the model.
It is. It's just not the model, right? It should be the model, not the. But I mean, it is disappointing that this is what it's really become.
Yeah, but, man. I mean, it would be so refreshing to see somebody take the Naked Gun approach to romance films, right? Or to take it to war films. I mean, any of this stuff is any of those things that really lean on tropes is just like rife for this kind of treatment. It's just not getting it.
Right. Well, now, did you watch the second Hot Shots?
No, I barely watched this one.
Okay. Because here's the thing: the second Hot Shots.
Do you think it's better?
No, I mean it has its moments where it's funny but it makes fun of more movies.
Yeah.
Like it makes fun of Basic Instinct, mostly Rambo 3. But they also make fun of Basic Instinct, but they also have a scene where the two women are doing an American Gladiators style chase.
Mm-hmm.
And they're running the American Gladiators obstacle course. And I'm just like, so is it the randomness that makes this funny?
Maybe that's what they're counting on.
But I don't know, man. Like I watched the Hot Shots movies with Sharon, and I did chuckle a bit.
Yeah, I mean, they're chuckle-worthy moments.
Because of nostalgia mostly. But it's like, yeah, I kind of wish that I wish we would have done an independent episode of Naked Gun 2.5, Naked Gun 33 1/3. I think that probably would have been a better use of the timing. I mean, if we were doing like instead of doing like Hot Shots and Scary Movie.
Yeah,
we would do Naked Gun and
then
all Naked Gun 2.5.
Yeah.
Just
now I'm not mad at Scary Movie because that's one of those flicks that came out like it caught me when I was in high school, and it'll be fun to revisit that.
Right, but I think that Hot Shots is of these spoof films, it's easily the weakest of the crew.
And horror is absolutely one of those. Like the horror genre seems to be done better as satire as opposed to parody.
I would love to see a horror spoof of like Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
But I still want people to. But then again, later iterations of Nightmare on Elm Street became horror comedy.
Well,
but it's not horror spoof.
Right. I mean, right. And I think one of the more interesting horror flicks that I've seen over the last several years it's an indie film, but it's a parody / satire of the genre, and it's called Final Girls. Have you watched that?
No, I haven't.
And it absolutely, it just makes fun of all of the tropes, and that's what we want in a parody.
Tucker and Dale.
Tucker and Dale is a good one too.
The same thing, and I think Tucker and Dale versus the Evil. That movie is so good.
Well, I'm not so sure that Cabin in the Woods isn't the best parody that we've ever had.
It really, you know what? I think that it is. I think
and it's not played for laughs the whole time, but it is parody.
It's played straight. It's played straight, but it is parody. But I laughed my ass off when Chris Hemsworth dies.
Yeah, that's the best. Well, and that's all you need to know that that's parody, right? Is because that scene is funny, even though the characters in it aren't aware that they're making jokes.
Right. I think that if we're gonna compare horror spoof, I think that you put Cabin in the Woods, Tucker and Dale, and I gotta watch Final Girls.
Yeah, Final Girls is solid because it does. I mean, obviously, it's like all baked into the title, right? That it's looking at that trope of the final girl to survive and all of that. But no, that's a cool flick for sure.
All right, I'll have to check that out. You know what? Even though we're talking about the final girls, and this has absolutely nothing to do with anything, but can we take a moment of just a quick second to recognize Julius from Friday the 13th, Part 8? He was like the only dude that really, like, he's not the only guy to decide, screw this, I'm just going to fight Jason, because the black guy from Friday the 13th, Part 3, the only people that really just had the balls to stand up and try to bop out with Jason were like black guys.
Yeah.
Like Ali in Friday the 13th, Part 3, and Julius from Friday the 13th, Part 8.
I like that.
Shout out to those guys.
Yeah, shout out. Right here in the heart of our Hot Shots episode. That tells you all you need to know, I think.
About how we feel about Hot Shots.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It just wasn't doing it for me, and
it really wasn't. This was a movie though that it caught me at, like you said, how Scary Movie caught you
at the right time. Yeah,
it caught me at the right time because I'm like 12 going on 13. I think this movie, like Hot Shots, came out like 91, 92.
Yeah.
So I'm 12 going on 13, 13 going on 14, and I remember Valeria from Pee-wee's Big Top Pee-wee. So, it's like, and then Charlie Sheen had been in a couple of things because, I remember, Major League, I love Major League.
Yeah.
So this movie had people in it that I already liked.
Right.
So at the time, it was fun to watch a movie that I thought was so funny. But then as I get older, I'm just like,
yeah, it just doesn't hang in there like The Naked Gun did, dude. That movie is so funny. The whole time I was watching Hot Shots, I was just like, could I just watch The Naked Gun again?
Yeah, dude. Honestly, Sharon laughed more. We didn't even get to finish Naked Gun because we went to bed. But she seemed to have way more fun exhausted watching Naked Gun.
It was
than
good.
Wide awake watching Hot Shots.
That's a great movie, man, for sure.
Yeah, I think I gotta start watching that again. I do.
Let's see here. What else do we have to say about Hot Shots?
I'm gonna take a little bit of your thunder for a second, if you don't mind.
Please do.
It was made on a $26 million budget, made $181 million at the box office, which is why we got a sequel, Hot Shots Part 2, that came out. Let me see. Hot Shots, the original Hot Shots came out in 1991. Hot Shots Part 2 came out in, let me see if I can pull this bad boy up here, came out a few years later, 2 years later, 1993. And apparently, in the first movie, he's just Topper Harley, but in the second movie, he's Sean Topper Harley.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently he was, but I don't know. It's much the same thing. There's no real difference. The only big difference is that we get Rowan Atkinson in it, and Richard Crenna. Richard Crenna, of course, played the Colonel from Rambo. So, it was kind of funny to see him in it, but at the same token, it's like, okay.
I wish we'd done Dracula Dead and Loving It.
That would have been good.
It would have probably been bad, but it would have been fun.
I'm sorry, anything with Leslie Nielsen. Leslie Nielsen is in it. Like, I'm sorry, I even laugh watching the original Creep Show when Leslie Nielsen is like the villain of that story.
Right.
I laugh at him even then because it's like, dude, this guy is scary.
Yeah.
But it's Leslie effing Nielsen, so that's okay. I'm laughing. I don't know. Like, I think, though, one of the biggest issues that I have, and I said it already, but I want to say it again. Every character that Charlie Sheen plays is basically Charlie Sheen.
Yeah, I just can't get away from that, and I'm just not a huge fan.
Like, have you ever watched Money Talks with Charlie Sheen and Chris Tucker?
I don't think so.
The character is basically, it's Topper Harley, but without the super spoofing. And I think that's probably among the best of Charlie Sheen that you're going to get, though, because Chris Tucker is doing all the comedy.
Yeah.
Charlie Sheen is just the straight guy.
Yeah.
But he's the same guy.
That probably is better. That would probably work better.
I think so. But you even look at the movie he did with his brother Emilio Estevez, Men at Work. he's the same guy.
Yeah. He's just like kind of handsome and kind of charismatic.
Yeah, he had good hair back then too.
For sure. Yeah.
His hair that was like the best thing about him. His hair was on point.
Yeah. Brian, inexplicably, Hot Shots is sporting an 84% on the tomato meter, but that is with only 25 reviews. The critical consensus says Hot Shots hits most of its parodic targets with aplomb, excelling as a daffy good time thanks to inspired gags and Charlie Sheen's crack comedic timing. Inspired gags? I don't know about that. But
slow down there, Chief.
A more accurate 65% according to the audience score, and that's the 100,000 plus ratings.
I think the best part about Hot Shots is that it's not very long.
Thank God.
It's only 85 minutes.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah.
I was able to get in and get out pretty quickly. So, all right. So, should we call in Senor Smiley?
I mean, is he going to actually show up on time this week?
Who knows, man? Your guess is as good as mine.
He's seriously got a date with HR if he screws up this week.
I know. We're gonna have to hire an HR guy.
Yeah.
We'd probably end up hiring Smiley again because we're suckers.
Yeah, and I mean, let's be honest, we're kind of lazy with our staffing.
That clearly. All right.
God.
Let's see if Bartender Smiley can come around and tell you how our rating system works.
The Plotaholics rating system for the movies is a pretty simple system. Basically, they rate movies based on how many shots it takes to get through them. So if you got a good movie and you get through it all the way sober, then it takes 0 shots to get through the movie. And then if you got a really bad movie, then it could take up to 5 shots to get through the whole thing. I think you can try to figure out the middle part yourself. So, what can I get you?
All right.
I discovered something else.
What's that?
Wasn't Smiley supposed to deliver us some mail?
Was he?
We got some. So I just give people a little bit of a peek behind the curtain. You know, we had someone send us something relatively important about getting us onto some sort of podcasting awards thing or whatever.
Oh,
and apparently they sent it in, and Smiley was supposed to deliver it.
I haven't seen this.
And he did deliver it, just 2 years too freaking late.
Really?
Yes.
What? What are we talking about?
If he would be so fired if I was just too lazy to find another intern.
Is this real? Are we talking about real things?
No, we're not.
I was like, what are you talking about?
No, not at all. No, but it would have been funny if it was.
I mean, it would have been, but I was like, I call myself checking on the emails on the emails behind Smiley because I don't trust him, obviously, right? But I didn't. But I was like, oh man, did I miss something?
No, I was just making fun of how terrible of an employee Smiley is.
Oh, okay.
Well,
I mean, I did believe it, right? So, I mean, that says all you need to know, right?
Yeah, that's very true. It's something very, very believable that Smiley would do.
Yeah, for me, Hot Shots is a 3-shot rating. It's just very middle of the road.
Yeah, I was going to go that way myself. I'll even go so far to give it a 4-shot rating just for the fact that Charlie Sheen really boggles down everything that everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, like Lloyd Bridges is probably like the MVP of this film. And Charlie Sheen just brings down whatever he does.
Just the idea that our culture was at any point concerned in the least with what this man was doing is just so perplexing to me.
Well, the reason why is because it's like manly man. I never even watched. I don't think I've watched 2 minutes of that damn show.
What is that show?
2.5 Men. I almost called it 3.5 Men.
Right. Well, but that's what I'm saying is like I don't know why anybody tuned into that show and decided that they wanted to stick around for more because I've watched parts of that show and it's just not doing it for me.
I think it's because we all love John Cryer and he's an amazing Lex Luthor in the Arrowverse. So we watched it for him.
I didn't, and I've never watched much of the Arrowverse to even realize John Cryer's in it. So
that's all right. They've canceled most of it anyway.
Yeah,
it's over. It's over and done with. I'll tell you what, though, John Cryer. That's a guy whose career I love. John Cryer as a person. If he's a great follow on Twitter, unless you have sort of leanings that I don't even want to get into it. I like John Cryer on Twitter. He seems like he'd be a nice dude. I just feel kind of bad that his fame in pop culture was based on a character named Ducky.
Oh, but that's okay because Ducky is a name that people remember.
Very true. And I don't care what anyone says. His style of dress in that movie was so on point that I would seriously want to cosplay as Ducky one day.
There you go. See?
If I wasn't in my early 40s.
Excellent.
And bald.
Well, they make wigs for that.
That is true. That is true.
All right. Well, then let's see. Well, we've said it already, but next week we'll be discussing the. We'll talk about Scary Movie. I think that you had mentioned, Brian, that you were going to look at the first two, both of the Wayans brothers entries.
Yeah, I'm only going to recognize the ones that the Wayans are involved in. To be honest, I don't really want to be involved in a situation where a hit franchise was actually stolen by the studios.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll talk all about that next week.
Or maybe I'll just watch the first one. I'll Shane Wilson it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been mailing it in for years, so.
I mean, I wasn't saying anything about mailing it in. It's just like, why go into this? I mean, only reason, although tell you the
why
truth,
go hard when you can go soft? You know what I mean?
That sounds dirty. I mean, I bet it feels nicer if it's a nice, soft, fluffy pillow or a cuddly bunny.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hug a rock.
They
may want to hug the rock,
yeah,
but not a rock.
Right.
And
absolutely.
And then after next week, we move into our summer movie programming, which is going to be a really, really good time. We're going to be doing musical films.
Not musicals, but movies about music.
Yes. So I think we haven't fully finalized it, but I know some of the films that are going to be involved in it. We're definitely going to be doing Star is Born. Although I did get not pushback, but I was actually informed that maybe we should consider doing a comparison of the original, not the original Star is Born, but the Barbra Streisand Star is Born with the most recent.
Yeah. Now I'm not opposed to doing that.
All right. I mean, so, A Star is Born is definitely going to be involved in that. We had talked about doing Dreamgirls.
Mm-hmm.
We kicked around. Why is that thing you do? Did we talk about that thing?
We mentioned it. Yeah.
We mentioned it. We also mentioned Dreamgirls. We haven't fully finalized which ones we're going to do yet.
Yeah.
But those are the ones that are definitely on the table. And I'm in the process of trying to get us a pretty big get as an interview coming this fall. More details on that as they become available. But I'll tell you the truth, Shane, I think this will definitely make up for, if we can get this to happen, it will definitely make up for the missed interview that we had a couple of years ago.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think you're right about that.
And I think you'll enjoy the film that this individual was in. I think you'll enjoy it because honestly, I think that it's a movie that could actually go into this summer block of film, I think, because music is a very, very big part of that movie.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I look forward to that as it develops. I'll remind everyone just one more time to rate, review, subscribe, tell your friends, etc., etc. Join the Discord, all of that stuff. You can find that information if you really, really want to. Pick yourself up by the bootstraps.
Yeah, it's right there on the screen in front of you.
It's true.
You shouldn't have to do it all for you.
That's right. But thank you guys for listening and hanging out. And we will talk to you again very soon.
See you, bye.
Take a trip with us to Nilbog. Just promise not to drink the goo.
Oh my God!
If you get sucked into the Matrix, we will send a phone for you.
Do you believe in fate?
But every movie has a plot hole, and every hole gets filled somehow. Whiskey, wine, or blue milk. Just don't cut me off right now. We're the Plotaholics, a breakfast club of two. We're the Plotaholics, ripping plots apart for you.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.